A new video this morning from North Carolina showing Hurricane Florence and all her might. This is taken in the coastal town of Belhaven, right near the Pungo River.
Yeah, which has risen dramatically because of Florence. You can see that water has almost reached the first 4 windows.
Of course, the city of New Bern, North Carolina, taking the brunt. They've been put on a 24-hour curfew into place. It's about 100 miles north of Wrightsville Beach, where the eye of Florence came ashore just a few short hours ago.
Omar Jimenez is in there in Wilmington, North Carolina, with the latest on the deteriorating conditions. Omar.
Good morning. The eye wall of Hurricane Florence has now passed Wilmington, but the effects are still here, and that does not mean the danger is over. Now, more than 200 rescues had to be made overnight, already in the initial stages of this hurricane. And on top of that, more than 500,000 people are waking up without power here in North Carolina alone. Now, I mentioned the eye wall of the hurricane and why the danger is not over. Let's take a look at Kill Devil Hills, North Carolina. You can see just how ferocious those waves are as they slam against the shore. Well, that presents what officials fear will be the next stage of this, the storm surge that potentially in some places can get up to 13 feet.
There it goes! There goes the lights!
Hurricane Florence is just beginning to carve out a path of destruction.
This is weeks. If this thing sits on top of us, it'll be a few days before the storm is over, but recovery will be weeks and months.
Florence is making its way on shore at a snail's crawl, bringing with it a potential 10 trillion gallons of rainfall.
We'll have an initial problem with flooding due to the storm surge, and then the river flooding and the creeks and streams we're worried about. That's an issue we're going to face.
In the town of New Bern, North Carolina, flooding began shortly after the first outer bands of the storm hit.
In a matter of seconds, my house was flooded up to the waist, and now it's to the chest, and we are stuck in the attic.
By early Friday morning, more than 100 people who didn't heed warnings to evacuate have been rescued from their homes, according to the New Bern mayor, and more were awaiting rescue.
We've had, I would say, probably over 500 calls. We're going to get in here and just start some rescues as soon as he gets here. In the meantime, we're staging up.
And according to officials up and down the Carolina coast, it's going to get worse before it gets better.
We were told to evacuate because of the impending surge, and I am so grateful and thankful that we did. You can prep all you want, but you can't prep for something like this.
And across Wilmington this morning, we are already seeing the damage left behind by some of the worst portions of Florence to come through. Even still, a Category 1 really just classifies wind speed. It was 90 miles per hour sustained winds when it first made landfall. But now what awaits the people of this region? Rain. Rain that is not expected to let up until the end of the week. Reporting live from Wilmington, North Carolina, I'm Omar Jimenez.
Omar, thank you. All right, I'm going to say it because you're all thinking it.
Yeah.
Where is this storm? The sun is shining.
Big reveal.
The sky is blue.
Yeah.
What's happening here? Well, we're going to check in with our weather authority right now, Chris Nessman. Perhaps he can give us some answers about when this storm is going to come.
Yeah, I know we're starting to feel some of those winds now, right, Chris?
Yeah, we really are. We're starting to see the winds now, and then it's going to slowly pick up by this afternoon and evening. Really, the rain will probably hold off generally until tonight. So you take a look right now. Now, one thing I want to clarify, folks, a lot of folks have been watching from home. We are not going to see what you just saw there happening in North Carolina. The storm's going to weaken before then. We're on the wrong side of the storm, and frankly, the track, if it holds to what it's doing now, is going to take it further north. But that's a live look right now. You can see how it is just kind of meandering. It's almost done a 180 as far as its directions. We'll go with like a 150. And there's the center of it slowly fading away. And as the eye breaks apart, that tells you that the storm is weakening. So you got to have a love-hate type relationship with that. You just feel bad for those folks right around the edge of the eye. Oak Island area getting the brunt of it right now. And Myrtle Beach certainly seeing their fair share of the winds and rain. For us, we're starting to see those breezes. I was just outside. It is a little bit breezy, but it's not bad. And we're really not seeing any rain just yet. Nonetheless, we do have a tropical storm warning in effect for the Charleston metro area, and that includes Berkeley, Dorchester, and Charleston counties, as well as up towards Orangeburg County and to our north. And then, of course, directly up the coast, you've got Myrtle Beach and those areas under a hurricane warning. A lot of folks under a flash flood watch because that is the concern, is the amount of rain we're going to be getting. And again, there's the look at that storm. So we are going to start to see those conditions deteriorate as far as more clouds, rain and wind this evening. It's going to take a bit first. Right now we're only seeing winds about 10 10 to 20 miles an hour in both Georgetown and Charleston, seeing that 20-mile-an-hour winds. And there's a look again at the storm stats right now, moving west-southwest at 6 miles an hour. Now, coming up, we're going to tell you a little bit more about the storm, show the tracks, show the rainfall potential in several models, as well as the National Hurricane Center's forecast. And then finally, we're going to talk a little bit about just the hurricanes themselves and why, even though this is a Cat 1, folks still have to take it seriously. Guys?
All right. Thanks so much, Chris. Appreciate that. The north side of our viewing area expected to get hit the hardest, of course. Darren Stoltzfus is in Georgetown County with more. Darren, good morning.
Good morning, John. We've just been waiting, really, for this. Last night at about 1 o'clock in the morning, we came out. Everything was still calm. Before that, earlier yesterday, this water was almost glass smooth. Now you can see it's getting a little choppy. You can see the wind is starting to pick up. But also, we talked to a worker here in the waterfront area. He said normally this water is about 5 to 6 feet higher than it is now at low tide. We are at very, very low tide. You can see where the water is. You can see the water mark on this pole where it should be. We're about 2 feet raised up off the water on this floating dock. So the big concern now in Georgetown is what is coming from Florence? How much rain will there be? And in an area that is prone to flooding, how bad will that flooding be after Florence starts dumping rainwater on us? And all that water that's been sucked up and that has made this low tide so low, when it comes back for high tide, how will that affect these boats that are now much, much lower below this walkway when they're used to? You can see those barnacles, that dark on the wood. They're used to being floating around much higher than they are right now. So here in Georgetown, it's wait and see how bad this will be, or if, as one local resident said earlier, we've dodged a bullet and we're not going to have to deal with much. But for now, we are waiting. We will let you know how bad it gets or how good it is here in Georgetown. Live in Georgetown, Darren Stoltzfus. Let's send it back to you.
Like we're all doing, Darren, thank you. Just watching and waiting.
That's right.
I mean, if you're still looking for a place to shelter, Low Country's got several shelters open for you.
Yeah, so if you're out in Berkeley County, Macedonia Middle and Cross High just opened up yesterday. Other locations include Berkeley Middle, Cane Bay High School, which is pet friendly, and Goose Creek High. Also St. Stephen Elementary, and if you need special needs shelter, you can contact DHEC for a place to go.
Good thing is you got plenty more time to get to one of those shelters. The sun is out.
Yeah.
Dorchester County also opening its second shelter. That's located at Woodland High School on Highway 78. DuBose Middle School still open for a pet-friendly option.
And Emerson's in Berkeley County for us this morning. And I know you were at you're on the outside of the Waffle House now. How's the county preparing out there?
Well, you know what? It's been a great morning to get to talk to the folks that are in Goose Creek that have not evacuated, or the evacuees that have actually headed into the shelters. Right now, we're outside the Waffle House, and I don't know, as we've been out here for like the last couple of minutes, you would not believe how many people have been flying into this Waffle House trying to get just a little bit more comfort food before the storm hits. And we actually had an opportunity to speak to two of their customers, Emily and Louie, who were telling us how it felt to be in the Waffle House and waiting for this storm to still be hitting.
Yeah, anything out of the house is great right now. Just getting out of the house is fine.
Originally, we were kind of on the fence about whether or not we were going to stay. And then with the recent updates, we kind of decided we'll just bunker down at home, make sure all the animals stay sane, make sure that nothing kind of goes crazy there, and just kind of tough it out that way.
And you know what? That's been the feeling from a lot of the folks that we've talked to. According to the police department here, preparations there was plenty of time for folks to be making their preparations. A lot of them have made those. Their windows boarded up. We've seen them. We've seen the sandbags in front of houses. There are a lot of areas in Goose Creek that do worry about flooding, and there's a lot of people who decided that this storm was one of those storms that they wanted to be here for. So once again, another car coming around the corner to the Waffle House. There are it's one of the few places open. That's one of the reasons it's particularly popular right now. Another thing, we're checking to see what grocery stores are open in this area, in the Goose Creek area, Somerville, the Dorchester, the Berkeley County area. That's where we've been primarily, and Quite a number of the Publix we've seen have been open, and a BI-LO. So if you're still needing to get a couple of those last minute things out of the way, we're still waiting for the storm to come in. There's still a chance to do that. Reporting from Goose Creek, I'm Ann Emerson for ABC News 4. Back to you in the studio.
All right, Ann, thank you very much, and we'll continue to check in with Ann throughout the day. Right now, though, you should be charging that cell phone.
A couple apps prove to be helpful during storms. Nextdoor app, that's a private social network for neighborhoods, can be used to send urgent alerts and share information. Zello, that's a walkie-talkie. It's free, but it does require Wi-Fi or network connection. So, no, that allows you to communicate with others in the area. And then the FEMA app will send you safety notifications and also tips to help get you prepared. Hurricane Florence buried down on the North Carolina coast, but in low country right now, things starting to just be pretty calm. Yeah. Maybe a little dreary, a couple of clouds right there. Got the full forecast for you. Time it out when this storm will arrive. That's coming up after the break. But right now on your screen, you're seeing those emergency numbers. Write them down.
Hey, good, I guess, late morning, everyone. And here is Florence right now. Again, it did make landfall and it's turning right near the coast, but the center of the storm is on shore. And overall, it is starting to weaken, but obviously there's still a lot of storm to go through that process. For us, it's about 130 miles away. And still, because of the side of the storm we're on, we're not seeing really any rain just yet. Just some of the clouds up towards McClellanville and Georgetown. They've seen a few sprinkles, but so far none for us. Right now, here are the most recent wind gusts. Now, Wilmington, we've seen them as high as 87 miles an hour. In fact, there was one wind gust that wasn't picked up on this, well over 100 miles an hour around the Wilmington area. So that shows you where the strength is. Myrtle Beach at 40. Charleston picked up a little bit at 33-mile-an-hour wind gusts. Steady winds, though, not quite as strong. We're at 20 in Charleston, 20 Georgetown, 13 in Somerville. So you can see that the winds are starting to pick up, and that's what we expect today, is the winds are picking up. We're going to pick up first, and then we'll start to see the rain tonight into tomorrow. There are still some questions as to how fast the rain's going to move in, but that's the general consensus, is winds first, rain a little bit later, and then eventually the winds will drop down. We'll just be left with the rain. So here's tonight, 10 o'clock, steady winds, 27 in Georgetown, 20s for a lot of the other areas. Tomorrow morning, still staying in those same numbers, and then notice how gradually they drop down as this storm wears on, because as it weakens, again, those winds will drop first, and then the rain will eventually go away, but that's going to take more time. The wind gusts, by the way, will probably be about 15-20 miles an hour faster than what you saw there. So here's the European model, and this one takes a more southerly track. So if we got the European, we would be looking at slightly stronger winds, and definitely we'd be looking at more rain. But even then, just nature of what side of the storm we're on, we won't be getting as much, certainly, as parts of the Grand Strand and even up towards Florence from Florence. Then it shows it moving off by Monday. Looking at the European rainfall totals, Charleston, about that 3 to 4 inch rain mark right there. Obviously towards Wilmington, they're going to be seeing the much bigger numbers. The GFS would be better for us, a little bit worse for parts of North Carolina, as it takes a more northerly track and shows us really not getting a ton. We would still get some rainfall, certainly, especially as it moves away and we get kind of that dragged in moisture from behind it. But overall, the GFS numbers aren't quite as impressive as the Euro for us. They still show a lot of rain towards North Carolina, and in that case, Charlotte and like Fayetteville would be getting more than us. So here's kind of a good consensus. Now, this was from the National Hurricane Center, and this is a different color scale, so just look at the numbers. So Charleston, we're looking at about 2 to 5 inches, but notice that gradient just for Charleston County. Southern portions towards Edisto would be getting significantly less than those northern portions towards Ondaw and McClellanville. And then, of course, the highest numbers up towards Wilmington. So quick summary of those timelines. So today, getting windy, afternoon, evening rain is possible. The winds will be bigger for today, 20-25 miles an hour. Tonight, that's when it's going to be a bit gusty, 20-25 gusts near 40. We're going to start to see those rain showers pick up. Tomorrow, windy, heavy rain is possible, and this is when we'll start to see those winds taper off just a little bit, but it's going to take a decent amount of the day to do so. So count on a stormy Saturday. Sunday, still breezy, but notice we're talking teens and 20s versus 20s and 30s and even the 40s. The rain chances are still there, though depending on how fast the storm moves, we could see things start to clear out a little bit by Sunday evening. Here's a look at that extended forecast. Right now, we're really looking at Monday will be our transition day, and then hopefully things will start to get back to normal by next Tuesday and Wednesday.
All right, Chris, thanks. Health First wants you to know that they're ready to serve you during the storm. Our urgent care facility open at 3 locations until 3 o'clock this afternoon in case you get a nasty sunburn. Staff says that they'll be here through the weekend to help those who are in need of medical assistance. And take a look at these pictures from Wilmington, North Carolina. That video taken in the eye of the storm. You can see that debris scattered all over the roadways. As we've been hearing all morning, things only going to get worse up there.
That's right. We'll continue to check in with the North Carolina coast throughout the show. But for now, let's send things out to our Megan Rivers, who's tracking conditions up there in McClellanville. Megan, good morning. Anything changed?
Good morning, Tessa. Things have changed a little bit. It's gotten significantly more cloudier. The wind has been more consistent. The rain that we saw earlier this morning has trickled off. Now we're here at a gas station where they're all boarded up and closed down. And this is probably a place with an awning like this you may not want to be in the event conditions do worsen. We saw this video earlier of a gas station up in North Carolina that was completely destroyed. You can see the awning that was just ripped off and the wind blowing it and the rain pouring earlier this morning. And so if you find yourself outside when the conditions worsen here across the low country, you may want to avoid that. Now back here in McClellanville at the gas station we see that they're all saran wrapped. They have saran wrapped the pumps entirely to make sure that things don't fall apart. They've also removed all the trash cans from outside as well, so there's not a lot here. They have their windows and their doors boarded up as well. We've been in McClellanville since about 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock this morning, and we've seen conditions change. But one thing that has changed is it has gotten significantly windier and cloudier, no sunshine anymore. We'll be out here all day bringing you the latest conditions from McClellanville, and we'll update you on air and online. Working for you, Megan Rivers, ABC News 4.
Hey, thanks, Megan. If you're riding out the storm, don't forget about those curfews. Folly Beach Mayor Tim Goodwin set a nightly curfew from 9 p.m. to 7 o'clock the next morning. People entering the island will need to show 2 forms of identification. Horry County also has a curfew in place. That's from 7 to 7 a.m. No word on when curfews will be lifted.
And we're taking a look at New Bern, North Carolina, where we still see some heavy rain there. We'll bring you more after the break.
All right, hey, good morning, everyone. All right, so we wanted to show you this picture, kind of a zoomed out look. It's high res, so that's why you see that line there, because if you go too high resolution and too big, it bogs down our computer, so you got to put a limit somewhere. But just look at how big of influence the storm has. You have the very outer cloud bands, no rain associated with those, all the way up from Washington, D.C., stretching south all the way down to Savannah. And then even then you've got a few outlying clouds leaving the storm as far down as Jacksonville. So it has an incredibly large spread. And that is why, too, there has been some discussion in the scientific community, if you're interested, of changing how hurricanes are rated simply because categories only measure wind, and yet as being a Category 1, it's still a very massive storm. Now, those are just preliminary. There's nothing official probably next for the next couple of years. But nonetheless, this just tells you, even though it's Cat 1, it's a big storm. We've had Cat 4s that have hit the U.S. that have been much smaller, such as Charlie in 2004. Coming up, we'll take a look at the latest spaghetti plots because a few of those have adjusted. I'll have more coming up.
All right now conditions in North Carolina continue to deteriorate and rapidly. New video from New Bern shows those high flood waters and just how high they've actually already gotten.
ABC's Emily Rao is just a few miles south down in Wilmington. She joins us now with the latest.
Florence is moving less than 10 miles per hour inland, but the wind coming with it 10 times as fast.
Once these winds start blowing at that tropical storm rate, it will be virtually impossible for the rescuers to get in to rescue you.
Those tropical storm force winds now blasting an area hundreds of miles wide, ripping off this gas station canopy in Topsail Beach, North Carolina. As first responders pull back, the storm surge is rushing in. In New Bern, people wading through waist-deep water.
Right now, I'm currently sitting in my truck watching the water rise coming towards me.
And in Wilmington, the rain coming down sideways in sheets. Families who chose to stay and ride it out now bracing for the worst.
We have large pine trees in the backyard, and they're really bending a lot, and the wind's just howling away as I can hear it from inside the house.
Reports of structural damage already racking up and shelters overflowing.
And those intense winds, of course, knocking down power lines. We know at least 160,000 people are without power. Many more outages expected. More than 100 are waiting for rescue in New Bern, North Carolina, as this storm is just getting started. Emily Rao, ABC News, Wilmington, North Carolina.
Oh, right now it's the scene of a rescue mission playing out. Check it out. Docks shredded into pieces, hotels in feet of water, cars submerged. Rescue teams still searching for those missing after their boats were capsized and partially sunk at this marina. Take a live look at Wilmington right now as we head to break. About 150 of those water rescues up in New Bern this morning.
Wow, and there's still more to come. We'll be right back.
All right, what time do we hit for? Yeah, no shot, forget it.
All right, another live look right there at the North Carolina coast, looking at New Bern. They are in the thick of it right now.
When will we start to see any effects here? Let's check in with meteorologist Chris Nessman with the latest. Hey, Chris.
Hey, good morning, guys. First off, as we've been talking about, we are not going to see what you just saw there, not even close. We're talking more tropical storm force winds. We are going to get quite a bit of rain, but I mean, we're going to get half of what they're getting in places around Wilmington. So that's where the thick of it is. I mean, we're still a good 130 miles from the center of the storm. So while, as we've been talking to our reporters out in the field, like especially towards McClellanville, they're starting to see a few showers and the winds are picking up, but even then they're still not in the heart of it. In fact, Myrtle Beach, we're really just starting to see that rain pick up in the past hour or two. Currently, the storm has winds of about 85 miles an hour, moving west-southwest at 6. That's the painful part, is just how slow this thing is moving. It'd be nice if it picked up the pace just a touch. Taking a look at our forecast cone from the National Hurricane Center shows it weakening into a tropical storm fairly quickly and, generally speaking, staying north of Charleston. Now you see there is still some distance, that Saturday 2 p.m. mark, between the edge of the center of the cone and where Charleston is, which is on the southern edge. So it could take a bit of a southerly dip, which would mean certainly more rain and wind for us, but there are a lot of model paths that do show it staying to the north. And for us, at least, that would be the better news. Worse, obviously, for folks living in parts of North Carolina. Looking at the spaghetti plots, there you see all those models, and again, a good chunk of them do show it staying to the north, though a couple have it zigzagging a bit closer to home. We're hoping that it takes that northerly pass for our sake. Here's our look at our futurecast, which has had a fairly good hold on this storm in the past 48 hours or so, and it does show the rain really picking up tonight into tomorrow and then sliding on out Saturday night with just the leftover showers for Sunday. So just a quick timeline on Florence today. It's starting to get windy. We'll see those rains pick up, especially late this afternoon. The farther north you are, the sooner you'll see the rain. In fact, southern parts of Charleston County, it probably won't be till this evening. I think then a lot of folks will start to see some rain. That's when the wind will be the gustiest, gusts about 40 miles an hour. Looking at Saturday, the winds will start to taper off a bit, but it'll take most of the day to do so. Heavy rain will be possible. And finally, Sunday, breezy, chance of heavy rain, but that's when the storm looks to start clearing out. Guys?
All right, Chris, thanks. You know, officials in the Tri-County area are hard at work. Live look at the Emergency Operations Center, where they're keeping a close eye on things.
That's why they're not at the front desk right there. Yeah. All right, taking a live look outside now. Downtown, we started the day seeing some sun, but those clouds are starting to roll in.
That's where we're going to find our own Brody Hart. So, Brody, how's it looking downtown?
Hey guys, it looks pretty deserted where we are here at the market right now. Now we know this is an area that does not need a hurricane in order to flood. That's the main thing about this. If we get any kind of real rain bands from this storm that kind of hang around and just spin around over top of us for a while, it could cause some problems right here in the market. But it's funny, you often see so many people right here in this area on a Friday. But that's not the case right now. It's probably not going to be the case all weekend, even as slowly as this storm starts coming our way. If it does keep heading this way and does give us some rain, we could run into problems. Now here, I want to show you, we've got video, I believe, of some previous times where we've had problems with flooding right here in the market. That's what we're trying to avoid. The bad scenario, though, one of the worst case scenarios, guys, that we talk about is a high tide coming in at the same time we're getting slammed by this storm. So high tide happens in about 2 hours at about 12:30 today. Probably not going to be a problem. Not going to have rain here then. Later tonight, though, at midnight. Tomorrow around noon. That could be the problem. That could be times when we have issues because we have high tides then again as well. So just something to keep an eye on. We also know this is a huge storm, big storm that's slamming North Carolina right now. We're not getting it, but they are. It's a storm that before was the size of North Carolina, South Carolina, and Virginia combined. They're getting about 8 months worth of rain in just about 3 days is the projection. If we were to get that in downtown Charleston, it would be devastating. Fortunately, our forecast does not look quite that severe, but again, this is something that could still cause problems for us. And I want to caution everybody, don't be lulled into complacency or too much comfort because you look outside and you see a beautiful day right now. Absolutely something that could change in the next several hours and stick around through the weekend. So we're live down in the market with you this morning, a market that is very different than what we would often see on a Friday, but for now we're at least thankful that it's not under several feet of water, and we're hoping that it stays that way throughout the weekend. But that's the latest from here, guys. I'll get it back to you in the studio.
Well, a lot of viewers asked us if officials would close area bridges should conditions get worse. Officials say they don't plan on it, but they are urging you to exercise caution. Wind speeds could make driving across the bridges dangerous. Officials are advising everyone to stay off of them if possible if winds do get stronger.
And many of you decided to stay here at home. You're probably wondering when the power could go out, how long you may be in the dark if we do get hit by those winds and all that heavy rain. We heard from a senior VP at SCANA, that's SC&G's power company. They say that power's, of course, and customers going to be a great help throughout this process. And here's some more advice.
A lot of the information we get that is so vital to us is information we hear from our customers. You're our eyes and ears out there, and you are a great supplement to our recovery effort. We have approximately 3,000 resources at our disposal right now that are focused solely on restoring power after this storm impacts our service territory. Included in there are approximately 500 personnel that have come from other states as far away from Mississippi. It always seems to get seen that as a community in South Carolina, we always shine our brightest when things seem the darkest.
The utility provider's been quite active on Twitter throughout the lead up to this storm, sending out messages like this one saying that they prepare for hurricanes like Florence year-round, from inspections to maintenance to proper tree pruning and training. And all of those efforts will be put to the test with Hurricane Florence. They say they are ready. And
we check with Santa Cooper. They have 130 line and tree crews on standby. That's about 4 times their normal number. And they'll be working to restore power if necessary. Crews have come from Florida, Tennessee, Alabama, Louisiana, and Missouri. Berkeley Electric says it also is fully staffed and prepared. Well, we've told you some of these things before, but the tips worth repeating. 10 ways to save a battery life on your phone. Put it on airplane or low power mode. Dim your screen, kill all apps running in the background, delete as many unused apps as possible, then turn off your location settings. Also, disable auto updates, turn off vibration on your phone, disable animations, and finally, it might be a no-brainer, but just a reminder, turn off your phone if you're not using it.
Already, right now, people are getting on social media forums from coastal towns in North Carolina asking for emergency help. We told you about this. This woman in New Bern said that she was stuck in her attic with her family, and her car and her home were almost completely underwater. Officials have said that that family, by the way, thanks to Twitter, has been rescued.
This morning, we're learning of some unorthodox methods of finding shelter.
Some seeking shelter in their homes of strangers. People have opened their homes to evacuees in a private Facebook group. It's called Hurricane Florence Lodging for Evacuees. That group already has 3,500 members.
All these people open up their homes for free. A lot of them will allow your pets to come in. They will feed you, clothe you, and they will let you stay until it's safe for you to go back.
Volunteers opening their homes say they aren't afraid of evacuees taking advantage of them. The group organizers started that Facebook page after Hurricane Irma, and they're planning to use it for future storms as well.
And if you have some really cool video or pictures that you'd like us to see should things get a little tricky when the storm does get here, feel free to chime in. Send them to us, abcnews4.com/chime in. They could end up right here on TV. We're back after this.
Minutes before you. After this hit, you can go pee and poop to your heart's content. Hey, Dominique, do we know if if they're still letting people on and off Sullivan's Island? Do we know if they're still letting people on and off Sullivan's Island? That'd be something good for you to say, like,
yeah.
You know, as of now they're still letting people on, or they're not. Change, so that means that they still are letting people on and off?
Thanks, Heinz.
They still are letting people on and off.
Hey, good morning, everybody, and we're taking a live look right now at Florence using our satellite map, and the winds have dropped just as the 11 a.m. update has come in a little bit early, obviously, but nonetheless 80 miles an hour, so it is still a Category 1, but it is slowly losing steam. That's good news for a lot of folks. What you don't want it to do is to continue moving slow, but look at that, west-southwest at 3 miles an hour. I mean, that is walking pace for you. You don't like to see that. So unfortunately, the rain is a big concern, especially in that part of North Carolina. Here in Charleston, while we are seeing the clouds, still not really seeing any of that rain just yet. Towards McClellanville, they've had a little bit, but that's been spotty up until about Myrtle Beach. Then it really starts to pick up. So the track shows it moving again very slowly, because by 8 o'clock tonight, it's just entered into the state line. As we get till Saturday morning, Saturday afternoon, it'll make its approach somewhat close to Charleston, but the latest adjustment actually lifts that bottom boundary up, so they are increasing in confidence in it staying through the middle of the state on up. That's good news for us, bad news for those folks, especially just north of that center track. And as it moves on, then it'll eventually move up towards Kentucky, Ohio, and into Virginia, where of course in the mountains the concern is some mudslides and then some of those valleys that are very narrow really filling up very fast. So you have a lot of, they call them flashy streams, and that is the technical term as far as streams that can fill up quickly. So there will be some flood concerns in that part of the country as well. Here's the latest spaghetti plots, and you see they all follow that very nicely, with none of them coming near Charleston. There has been, over the past couple days, consistently one or two that brought it right over. We're starting to see that change, so that's why the confidence is increasing that we will stay on the south side of that storm. So the latest as far as those hurricane force winds, most of it, or at least the next couple of hours if they do linger, will stay in the North Carolina coast. Even Horry County, we'll see some. Notice Charleston, we're in that 0 to 10% category, so our chances are very slim of seeing those kind of wind gusts. Tropical storm force winds, that's much more likely. We're sitting at about 60, 70, inching up towards 80% chance here in Charleston. So as the winds pick up this afternoon, we could see them break that 39 mile per hour mark. That's not terrible. We can handle that, but that's just something to be aware of. So let's take a look at the futurecast for wind gusts. These are not sustained winds, these are gusts, just those quick bursts of wind. So by tonight, Georgetown in particular could see some stronger wind gusts, 30s, 38 towards Moncks Corner. In fact, watch as the center of the storm gets closer. You'll see Moncks Corner actually have stronger winds than a lot of the other places coming off Lake Moultrie there. But overall, looks like this evening we'll see those strongest winds, and then they will start to taper off as we inch through Saturday. And then definitely by Sunday, Sunday's going to be all about the rain, not so much the wind. In fact, the winds will really taper off. Here's the latest with our Futurecast showing that storm moving through Myrtle Beach, losing steam, still spinning decently. Charleston getting rounds of rain, and then as we get into Saturday night into Sunday, it starts to leave. We should still get some onshore flow, some showers. It's definitely not going to be as bad or as wet as Saturday. Looking at our forecast for those rain totals, Charleston 2 to 5 inches, but notice just Charleston County, that top half versus that bottom. Big differences. So we're right in that transition between who gets a lot of rain and who doesn't. So when we say 2 to 6 inches, somewhere upwards of 8, we really do have that big a spread just within our area that gets this signal. So you got to play those games. Here's our impact. So winds 20 to 40 miles an hour, gusts 50 to 70. I would even, now that we're more solid with that northern track, I would even knock that down just a little bit. Maybe McClellanville, Georgetown will be seen. I think most folks will see those gusts closer to that 50 mark at most. Rain 2 to 8 inches, those 8-inch marks higher up north, 2 inches further down south. And again, once you get towards Savannah, you're talking even less than an inch of rain. So there's the latest on Florence. It is a big storm, but we've also got a couple others in the Atlantic we just want to go over. You've got Isaac, tropical depression now. Those are just leftovers. Joyce, Helene, sisters, not doing a whole lot right now. So things are wrapping up. We're going to have one last look at the extended forecast coming up in just a bit.
Well, usually we get storms like the one that we're expecting in coastal towns. They get the brunt of it.
Erica Lunsford is out on Sullivan's Island where she's been all morning. And hey, Erica, are the conditions changing any?
No, you know, it's just another day out here on Sullivan's Island. I'm going to let you get a look behind me and so you can see people. They're just coming out here, riding their bikes, walking their dogs. Even someone's flying a kite over there. I don't know if you guys can see it, but it's just been a beautiful day out here. Now, the main factor that has been sticking out here today is the wind. It has picked up a little bit. Matter of fact, when we were down there talking to people, my hat flew off at one point. But other than that, like I said, it's just a beautiful day out here. People are saying they're just taking their time out here relaxing before remnants of Florence come into town. But you know, people are still allowed on and off the island, but that could change later on today depending if there is a storm surge, and we expect to see that possibly tonight or early tomorrow morning. So live on Sullivan's Islands, Erica Lunsford, back to you.
All right, Erica, thank you. Taking a live look at the marina, looking at those skies. You never know what was coming. I mean, it's starting to get, you know, more cloudy now. Have a look at Florence preps up in the PD next.
guys ever hear that Waffle House index? Because it might be playing
I mean,
true
I always
today,
know
right?
that it's open all the time.
Yeah, if you don't know about it, most of all the Waffle Houses in the Low Country open right now. That's a good sign. Reporter Ann Emerson found this one in Goose Creek absolutely jam-packed. We heard from her a bit earlier in the broadcast. Not the case around the state, though. Dan Lamparello has more from Myrtle Beach.
You can tell a strength of a storm by a lot of factors, but one of the most popular here in the South is the Waffle House Index, the amount of Waffle Houses that closed due to an impending storm. Across South Carolina and North Carolina, many are closed today. They closed yesterday, some of them boarding up as well. This one here in Myrtle Beach, closed as well. A counter usually would be filled here with people getting their morning breakfast, but fret not. After Florence starts to head back out, and this area seems to start picking up, they said they're going to be reopening here. So definitely it'd be a well-needed breakfast for many of the folks and the first responders who are going to be responding to, I'm sure, a lot of storm damage calls over the next few hours and days. But right now here in Myrtle Beach, we're starting to feel a lot of the wind start to pick up. You can see by the tree here blowing a little bit. We have gusts that are getting pretty strong, but they're intermittent and still no rain here. So obviously this storm a lot slower moving than we originally thought, but we'll continue to monitor it here and online. For now, we're in Myrtle Beach. I'm Dan Lamparello reporting.
Hey, thanks, Dan. Appreciate that.
And as we head to break, these are some pictures just in from our sister station up in New Bern, North Carolina, where they're getting hit really hard out there. They had to evacuate last night after floodwaters came into the studio.
Yeah, of course, thoughts with them as they continue to cover the storm, even without their home base. We're back with a look at your forecast in just 3 minutes.
All right, let's take one last look at those projected rain totals, which will be the concern, especially Saturday afternoon. In Charleston, or frankly, especially the metro area, is right on the edge of when we really see those transitions. So you see the very southern tip of Charleston, it's in that 1 to 2 inch category, whereas the very northern edge, 3 to 8 inches possible. So a big spread of rain totals in just our little neck of the woods. So that's why when we talk about that big spread, you're seeing it right there. So the biggest concern will be if some of those heavy rainfalls happen during high tide. That's when obviously drainage in a lot of low-lying areas is the worst near the coast. So particularly that Saturday afternoon and early Sunday morning one, I think biggest potential for something to happen there. But otherwise, just the impacts, winds about 20 to 40 miles an hour, gusts 50 to 70. That 70 really is for the far northern edges. I think most folks will be staying below that threshold. And then those rain, as we talked about, 2 to 8 inches Friday evening into Sunday is when we're looking at it. So finally, our extended forecast this weekend will be fairly unsettled. 83 Saturday, 85 on Sunday, and then Monday, Tuesday, things will start to improve. So hopefully, cross your fingers, things will get back to normal.
Fingers crossed, toes are crossed, and eyes are crossed, and my legs.
So you already got that 11 a.m. update in, and it really showed some pretty good news, at least here for the Tri-County area.
It did, yeah, because originally there was a bit of a bulge down where it potentially got closer. They've tightened that up a bit. Okay. So looking more and more like it is going to stay to our north.
All right.
So rain, a little bit of wind.
Rain. The biggest thing, again, will rain during high tide, and then, of course, some of those flood-prone areas, because if you get a band of rain around it, might not get too bad, but those folks in that band will get a lot of rain.
All right, we know that you guys are watching at home, waiting for the rain, waiting for the wind, as are we. We will be back on air at noon today, trying to give you the latest we can here in the Low Country.
Yeah, until then, download our ABC News 4 app for the latest news on Florence and anything else that comes in. We'll see you in an hour. Have a blessed day.
See you then.
Bye.